Emotions, we all have them. So I hate to break it to you. We're all emotional people. Men, yes, you're emotional too. We're all emotional human beings. That's why we have these emotions. Boredom, who hasn't been bored in their life, right? And then overeating, which is linked to not being satisfied, right? Or simply trying to fill a void that has not been, again, satisfied. We've all been there. So therefore, we're all in this mix. The difference is how
Let's go. You are incredible. Your body has a purpose. Your life has a purpose. You were designed to live the best life possible.
Have you ever ate foods you didn't want to eat and foods that you knew you should not be eating, but yet you could not stop eating them? Well, that is today's episode. Today is Thursday, and we have a brand new episode for you. What's going on? This is David Hernandez, and you are tuned in to Listen, You're Not Defeated. I'm excited because this week we've started 2 brand new podcast episodes for you each and every week moving forward. And if you haven't already subscribed, click the subscribe button on our channel and also click the little bell so you can get all notifications of our up and coming episodes. And if you're if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast station, click the follow button also so that you do not miss any episodes. I'm excited. Every week now, 2 episodes. So today we are going to break down why you keep eating foods that you don't want to, or that you know are bad or detrimental or are affecting your life and your health. So without further ado, let's jump on into today's episode. Mic check. Mic sound okay? Camera 1 good? Camera 2 good? All right, here we go.
it's so powerful.
I'm excited
so powerful.
for people to be able to start to see some of this information.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Look, it's happening on Friday this week, June 10th and 11th. I'm going to be live in Florida, but we also have people that are out of state in other countries. Thanks to technology, now we can connect from anywhere. People can jump on and be a part of First Sleep to Better Health, and it's just going to be awesome. We're going to be really focusing on the components that we worked on one-on-one, right? To help you to master your eating habits, but identify, like, why am I still stuck in like these behavior patterns and this unhealthy eating habits and this destructive repeated cycle of eating foods that I don't want, that is causing me to be unhealthy, overweight, unsatisfied, and so on and so forth. And we'll talk more about it towards the end of today's episode, but it's arriving fast and we're excited. We're excited.
That's very, very exciting. I know, before you know it, it'll be the weekend. Let's hope that's true for everyone, right? Before we know it, it'll be the weekend.
That's right.
I'm blessed to be able to have a different type of summer than a lot of people have. So yes, I know that in general, we're all looking forward to the weekend still.
That's right. But look, we're here. It's Tuesday. We're excited because we have a brand new episode. And look, every Tuesday we come Facebook Live here. We come with the episode to be a platform for you, the audience, the viewers, as a community support for you through your health and fitness journey. Look, there's a lot of information out there, but the problem is that not all the information is right for you. And it's important to be able to get the answers that you need so that you know exactly what you have to do to make those changes to start living the life that you truly desire. Because look, it's intended to streamline your journey, right? Like, you've been through the coaching and the mentorship on the emotional eating side of things. And it just helps when you have somebody walk you through the process and guide you, answering the specific questions that you have, right? Based on specifically what it is that you are needing so that you can get the answers that you want. So that's what we're here for. every Tuesday. Look, it's a platform you can bring your questions. As a matter of fact, as we're going into today, drop there if you're tuning in with us, where you're watching from. And if you have questions as we're breaking down today's episode, please just drop the questions in there. Let's connect. Know that Allison and I are here to support you and to get you answers to the questions that you might have. Cool. So you excited? You ready?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
So the question that we have today,
yeah,
is it was kind of from last week. There was kind of like a big question that came actually from somebody in Illinois, you know, where I am.
Okay.
One of the viewers. And the first part of that question we tackled, you know, last week, which was, is emotional eating, overeating, undereating, you know, any of that type of stuff, is it a psychological issue?
Right.
And so that's kind of what we talked about last week. And the second part of the question was, why, and this is kind of related to this,
okay,
why can't I stop overeating, emotional eating, stress eating, boredom eating, undereating, any of that kind of stuff? Why can't I stop doing this behavior even though I want to stop, or I'm not hungry, or, you know, whatever that may be? Like, I want to stop. I know I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Why can't I stop? So that was kind of how the question was posed.
Great questions. And I think that's a fantastic question, follow-up question, right? With what we discussed last week. And like you mentioned, we deep dive into the real component here, right? Is this what I'm challenged with, whether it's binge eating, boredom eating, right? And before I answer that question, there's a big misconception that when we say emotional eating, right, has to do with me personally, with a flaw that I have,
right,
and that it is different than, for example, stress eating, boredom eating, or binge eating, overeating for that matter, right? The names are different, but the breakdown and the structure of how they function and they operate psychologically is the same. Right. Therefore, it's important to be able to reflect and look at, okay, well, if I don't want to call it emotional eating because of the negative connotation that society, the world, people, everyone out there has looked at this word, or even the way I maybe have a trigger when I hear that word, right? Because it's a real thing.
It is.
We have to be sensitive to the fact to know that we are human beings. And many times there are words, there are phrases, there are things we see. Shoot, there is music that I still listen to that triggers stuff that I went through when I was a child.
Yeah.
Smells. Has that ever happened to you? Like there's this one scent that I promise from a girl, I can smell from, streets down, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm exaggerating, but across the mall, for example, and I will know the exact name, the fragrance, and I'll know exactly where I first smelled it and who I smelled it from, because obviously it was a high school crush, right? And it's Victoria's Secret's Love Spell. That one smell can take me back. Those memories.
I agree.
And there are moments that maybe we hear this word, emotional eating, right? And that word might be triggering something in you. So therefore, it now causes me to reject that and deny or negate the truth, right? Or not accept or live in a fantasy. And I say this respectfully, as if, no, this isn't me. I don't own this. This doesn't pertain to me because I'm not an emotional person, because I'm not a weak person, because I'm not a defeated person, right? Because I'm not this.
Yes.
But this is the moment when we've got to be able to put that aside and be able to really reflect. And going back to the honesty piece that we talked about last week, is to look and say, this doesn't define who I am.
Right.
This word, emotional eating or stress eating or boredom eating, it's just a name. that yes, it is linked to a certain action, right? A certain behavior that it gets the name from.
Yeah.
But it doesn't define you.
Yeah. And it makes me think of this person first language, that we use, where we say like a person with autism or a
Yes.
person with Down syndrome. And it's like,
Good point.
it's very similar to me. And so for me, it's like a person, like you might be a person that emotionally eats, or,
Right.
and to me, what it breaks down is, do I use food in a way that, number one, I'm not happy with?
That's right.
Number two, doesn't coincide with how I want to have a lifestyle or live.
Yeah. Right.
Or three, am I using it in place of something else to get something, to get comfort, to
That's
get
right.
love, to get, so that's why kind of when I read that question, like, they put it as emotional eating. But
Yeah.
lately, when I've been thinking about it in my mind's eye and talking about it with others, I've been kind of listing like boredom eating, stress eating,
That's right.
under eating,
That's right.
binge eating, because it's the, like, now that I understand what you've, taught me and what I've gone through, I'm like, it's any of those behaviors when you're using something for something that you don't have another mechanism to use.
That's right.
So I think you're right. I
Exactly.
mean, I think that's really important. And there is shame attached to it.
Totally.
And like I said last week, like you try to either play it off, like, oh, this is what
Mhm.
women do. Ha ha ha. We all do this. Let's stuff our face. Oh my God, I ate too much. I can't control myself. Like, and I'm not saying that there's something wrong with that. It brings an understanding between women,
Of course. Yeah.
but it is something that your first instinct is to say like, oh, I don't really do that. I don't really have that problem, because then it's admitting a fault, or admitting something you don't like about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good to stress that like you kind of have to own that to a certain degree and admit that I can't stop this.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads us into this question, like,
That's right.
why? Why
That's right.
can't I? But first you have to say like, it's like if you have another thing other than food that you're using to medicate yourself,
Right.
you have to admit that you have a problem first, like,
Yeah.
or that you don't like it.
That's right. Or that you're using the wrong outlet, right?
Right.
Let's just look at that.
That's a good way to put it.
I'm dealing with this and I am using the wrong thing to release it with, to get it out of my system. Because look, I've addressed this before. We all have a coping mechanism. We need it to stay sane.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it would be a zombie apocalypse and we'd
Right.
out be killing each other everywhere, right?
Right.
Which sadly, a lot of people do get to that place because they've exerted all of the things that they know to go to release what they have inside, that now it does not give them any release or satisfaction or comfort or joy or whatever it is that they are needing. So
Mhm.
therefore they go to the extreme, right? That could be suicide. It could be murder. It could be child abuse. It could be rape. It could be a lot of these very extreme
Yeah.
measures.
Yeah.
But in that, it's simply looking at, okay, am I truly happy with the way I've been releasing the things that I've been dealing with in life? Because all of these things, when we look at stress, it's a normal, natural experience to live in life.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions, we all have them.
Anger.
So I hate to break it to you.
Yeah.
We're all emotional people.
Right.
Men, yes, you're emotional too.
Right. Right. Yes.
We're all emotional human beings. That's why we have these emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Boredom, who hasn't been bored in their life?
Right.
Right. And then overeating, which is linked to not being satisfied, right? Or simply trying to fill a void that has not been, again, satisfied.
Right.
We've all been there. So therefore, we're all in this mix. The difference is how I deal with these core components versus somebody that might be dealing with them or handling that situation in the way they're handling it.
Yeah.
Therefore, example, if I'm stressed, I can now have learned to be able to use other options right? To release my stress, to where maybe today you are going to food, right? Or in any emotional situation, you get angry, you get sad, it's dealing with emotions, and you resort to food, right? So to get to that question of why do I keep doing it, we've got to come back to this centerpiece that I will continue to drive home, this acceptance piece, and really recognizing and being able to point a finger on it and say, yes, that is me. Now, when you say, yes, that is me, it does not mean that it's going to define you and that's who you are. It just simply means this is where I'm stuck at. This is my current life. This is my current situation. This is what I'm currently dealing with. I am having trouble dealing with my emotions in a healthy way, or with my stress in a healthy way, or with boredom in a healthy way. So we've got to get to this first place. It's just like when we're going to play baseball. I don't know if you've ever played baseball, but we've all heard of the sport. We've all seen it. Before you can get to any other base, you got to get to home plate. You got to bat up. You got to get to the first base to give yourself a chance and at bat to then move on.
Yeah.
If we want to get to that question and be able to answer why, well, we've got to be able to get to that first place of saying, yeah, I'm struggling with this. I accept it. I've pinpointed it. And you know, the funny thing is that up until we really started deep diving into these topics, there were a lot of people that I've spoken to that said, you know what? I didn't even know that was me until you started talking about it. I didn't even know I did that until you started saying that these things were this.
Right.
You recognized, but it took you a while to really accept and say, okay, this has gotten out of control. I'm really struggling with this. Now we got to do something about it. Right.
Yeah. And I've tried so many other things now I'm done. Like I don't want this. I don't want to go down the same road that my dad went. I don't want to teach my kids this. So then it became even more than just about me.
Right.
You know, so I think maybe for me that kind of like pushed me, you know, because that's what I started really seeing was that bigger picture. You know, and a lot of people will say, wait, so you're saying just because you binge on a bag of chips or you eat a carton of ice cream because you're sad and it brings you comfort, that means you're going to die early like your dad or teach this to your kids. And I'm like, well, maybe not at face value, but again, yes. And
absolutely.
That's what I started to understand.
Yeah, that's right. Because all things that we do not have a control of will become out of control.
Yes.
So therefore, when we're looking at these behaviors, right? What is emotional eating? It's a learned behavior. That means I learned how to deal with my emotions going to food. I learned that from a young age. I learned it either from grandmother, from mom, from sister, from caretaker, from the school, from a friend. I learned it. I adopted it. I saw that as and here's the thing. Learned behavior has nothing to do whether it's right or wrong or you believe in it or not. It does not care. If you simply adopt it and do it, you're going to own it.
Yeah.
If that continues to repeat, right?
And that was huge for me when you said that. Like, to me, when I started to understand that, like, a learned behavior, it doesn't mean that you think it's okay, that you agree with it, that you like it, because that's the question. Why do I continue to do something that I don't like?
That's right.
That doesn't make me happy, that causes these things.
Yeah.
Why can't I stop?
And isn't that crazy? That as human beings, there are certain things that we truly do not want to do them.
Yeah. That's
the question here, right?
Yeah.
Why do I keep doing it? I can't stop even though I don't want to do it. And here is the depth of what I want to drive and what I want you all to grasp. Psychologically and neurologically, it doesn't matter. The brain doesn't care. And secondly, The brain doesn't know the difference whether you want to or not, because it all has to do with the action that you are doing in a repeated form. Here's the catch. Our brain loves repetition. That is how it learns. It learns through repetition. So even though I say, I don't want to do this, but if somehow I still do it and somehow I do it again, it doesn't matter what comes out of your mouth. It's what is being demonstrated. Look, we've all heard the phrase, right? Love has to be demonstrated. You can't just say it. How many times have people said, oh, I love you, but then their actions, right, totally opposite. And you can tell, yeah, okay, they really don't love me. They're just saying it.
Yeah.
That's the exact same thing that happens with our brain, right? Because the action is demonstrating something else that might be different to your mouth. And why is that? Because it's now been ingrained neurologically. How is it ingrained neurologically? Because one, we learned how to do it. And secondly, we continued to do that exact situation, that exact experience, that exact action, right? Going to food. I'm stressed. I go to food. I'm sad. I go to food, right? I'm in an emotional state, whatever your situation is, right? And look, it's going to be unique.
Yeah.
When we talk about your situation, it was very unique. However, when we look at the pattern, it is the exact same way.
Right.
And when we analyze and we look at when I have learned how to do something and I repeat doing it, and in these very innocent stages, we really don't understand right or wrong. Is this beneficial for me? Is it not? Right? Because it's like, okay, if mom did it, cool. Well, then I guess that's how we should do it. If grandmother did it, well, okay, I guess that's how we should do it. If we're young and we see another person that recommends that, and we've seen that throughout our childhood, we're going to think it's okay. But it's not until we get older to where we can actually start to conceptualize and start really grasping what it is I'm doing that these bells start going off. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. This
is really affecting me.
Yeah.
This is really causing me some issues. This is impacting my energy. This is impacting the way I feel. This is impacting the way I look. This is impacting my health. Oh my gosh. Okay. We got to do something. Yes, we got to do something, right?
Yeah.
But because it's now been ingrained in your brain has been now wired in this pattern. And we talked about it last week, right? You deal with an emotional situation. You go to food, right? You find some joy, right? You then feel guilty because you went to food. Right. So now you feel bad. And now you go back to food so that you can feel happy again.
Yeah.
And then it becomes this never-ending destructive cycle.
Yeah.
And so why does this happen and how does this happen? Well, now let's take a really quick look at how the brain functions. Our brain thrives on glucose. The first form of energy that the brain utilizes for energy is glucose. What is glucose? It is sugar. That simple. So when we consume sugar, it gives energy. The brain is activated. Not only is the brain activated, but a specific area within the brain is activated, which is known as the reward response. And when we're talking about foods, we make this joke, and we've been saying it for the past couple of weeks. The foods we typically go to are not ahead of broccoli, right? Ahead of lettuce. It's not like Roger Rabbit. Let me pull out the carrot bag, right?
Yeah. That's not what you want.
No, let's be real. It's high sugared foods, processed foods, which again are loaded with sugar, loaded with preservatives, loaded with sodium. Your fast food, your chips, your candy, your ice creams, all of these foods that literally they make us feel good. Why do they make us feel good? Because they activate the reward response section in the brain, which is dopamine. Your brain loves sugar. If today you're saying, I can't stop eating sugar because your brain loves sugar, because that is its number one source of energy. That is why.
Yeah.
So when we give it, and together we now give it, but attached to an emotion.
Yeah.
This is where the bomb goes off. Because here's this.
Yeah.
When we attach an emotion to an action and they both link, there is a higher frequency that is operating neurologically. It's like, I was talking, we're talking about this example with Naneth, my fiance. You take a kid in a room, okay, dark room, and you put a rat in the room. It's going to play with the rat. It's going to know no difference. Okay. You then put that same baby with the rat. And again, I'm being very, very, very extreme here.
Yeah.
But right before it starts to play with the rat, you make a loud noise. A siren goes off. You clap loud. You scream loud.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? It's going to freak out.
Right.
So from that moment on, you've now put an emotion to an action that has caused a higher frequency neurologically that now that baby is going to be scared of rats.
Right. Right.
It is no different when we're talking about our emotional states. If we add a high frequency of emotions followed by an action, that neural link, that connection, that trait, that neurological trait, that trail that connects, that fires in the brain is going to be at a higher frequency. So therefore, that is what's going to be ingrained. It's going to be protruded. It's going to be embedded in the brain and neurological system stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So now imagine that pattern continues to happen again.
Yeah.
And again. And again. On top of you giving your body sugar, right?
Yeah.
Which your body loves it. Now, this like desire for it, this like adrenaline and it sometimes now even gets to a state of like, oh my gosh, if I do not have it, I will not function.
Yeah. It's like an addiction.
And that's how it starts to become an addiction.
100%. That's where I was at. Yeah.
And now it's become to the place where it doesn't matter, even though you don't want to do it, you fall right back into it. Why? Because the desire is so much stronger, right? Mm-hmm. The craving is so much stronger. Mm-hmm. That tolerance level, because let's say your brain functions good off of, I don't know, let's just say 1 gram of sugar. Mm-hmm. But each day now you start to give it 2 grams of sugar, 2 grams of sugar. It's on an extra gram of high sugar. It's like, it's on a high. It's on a 1 gram high.
Yeah.
Then you stop giving it 2 and you go back to 1. It's going to say, no.
Right.
I need 2. So then you go to 2. And then now 2 starts to be like, this isn't doing anything for me anymore. Right. Okay. So now we got to go to 3 and then 4. And now the tolerance for sugar has just now spiked up so much that you're having to consume such excess levels of it simply to feel good, simply to find some relief, right? Simply to get a little bit of energy, get that boost, get that high, which only lasts 20 minutes. And then the crash hits, right? And you're right back sluggish and feeling empty.
Feeling awful. Yeah. Totally.
This is why that question, why is it so hard to stop even though I don't want to do it?
Yeah.
That's why.
And this, David, it's not just for sugar, but it's also like for any sort of like that overeating or binge eating or sugar is super, super strong. But because some people might be like, oh, I don't have that problem with sugar. But it's also for these other type of behaviors.
Well, here's the thing. Most of the foods that we go to, they're either going to be high in fat or high in sugar. These are going to be the main ones, right? Yeah. And fat works very similar in the same format that sugar does right?
Okay.
The difference is that, yes, sugar spikes the insulin a lot more, right?
Okay.
Which is what gets us this high. It goes to pray. It causes the body to go crazy because it needs to regulate the amount of insulin that is going through so that we don't get too much sugar in our bloodstream. And then now the pancreas is going crazy, and then the bloodstream is going crazy. And all of these things are so out of whack, but it happens in the same way as fat.
Okay.
Right? Because a lot of the fatty foods that we're eating, they still have also sugar. They have components and fillers and things that we are just drawn to. So if we are consuming, again, this access higher levels of fat, let's say potato chips, salt, sodium, right? It's the exact same way, which is why fast food restaurants, they've become so addicting, even from the very beginning when they started to mix sugar and salt together.
Okay.
Those two flavors within the body, it's like, oh my gosh,
Crazy.
it's a bomb, right?
Yeah.
So these are the typically the foods that we go to. So whether we're boredom eaters, what are you going to typically maybe eat when you're bored? And that could be, oh yeah, but I just munch on nuts. Yeah, okay, but it's still, there's still high levels of fat, right? A lot of these nuts still have high levels of salt, right?
Yeah.
And then others might be, well, I just need to be snacking. I just need to have something in your mouth. That what you need to have something in your mouth, you've learned that.
Right. Right. Good point.
You've learned that you have to have something in your mouth, right? Whether it was because you dealt with some type of anxious situation when you were younger throughout your life, maybe you saw your parents or a loved one or mom handle her anxiety in that same way. So now you've adopted that. When we keep repeating, even though, let's say people out there are listening and they say, yeah, but I don't go to sugar. I just eat any type of food and I overeat. Okay. The fact that you've repeated that has become ingrained in your neurological conscious, right? In your subconscious, that has been repeated. It's been ingrained in your brain. The neurological connections have been embedded. And now that's why that learned behavior, because of repetition, brain likes repetition. It gets shaped and it gets molded through repetition. How do we change a behavior pattern? Through repetition. Right? We've got to repeat through consistency, right? Is the same way we can learn bad habits and unlearn bad habits to learn good and healthy habits,
and
right?
That right there, what you said is, once I understood that, it just brought me such like relief, because it gave me more of a physiological explanation and a neurological explanation as to why I was out of control. And so it took that weight off of my personal responsibility of it being a choice. You choose to do this to yourself. You're weak. So for me, like, this was profound, even though I knew something about, brain development and neurological development and whatnot and how that works. It still never clicked for me that related to these eating behaviors. Just like when I was in the therapy for so long, those thinking traps and all that, it never clicked that this was part of that,
That's right.
So I feel like hopefully, some people that are, hearing this information or will hear this information as they listen to, the recording, hopefully that'll bring them some like an aha moment, like, oh, so this isn't my fault. This isn't all just my inability to control what I do, what I put in my mouth, because that's what I used to think.
Yeah, as many do.
100%. And again, a lot of people just are like, okay with that. They're like, well, I just can't, but they're not really okay with it.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that it could be different. So that's another thing too,
and that's cool that you said that. You realize that it wasn't necessarily like your choice to go to these, because look, many, I think, will be able to relate to that, because I don't think, unless you're in a very unhealthy mental state, or you're in a place where you maybe have given up on life and you just really don't care anymore, I don't think that us intentionally, deliberately will do something and say, oh yeah, I'm going to choose this thing that is hurting me and destroying me and is causing me to live this way over this other choice that would give me something different.
Yeah.
Right? We don't do that.
No, but if people don't know that other choice is available, right?
That's right. So I wanted to come back to that because I think that there is depth in there of when we understand this concept of that I can unlearn how to do this destructive behavior or this behavior that I'm not happy with and learn a new behavior. It does now take off this like personal condemnation, judgment, and like shame that we have put on ourselves, believing that, oh, all this time I'm the one that's like literally killing myself or sabotaging myself. And look, yes, there might be certain moments that you might say, yeah, okay, I do want this today because I really don't give a flip and I don't care. Right. But it's not always the case.
No.
And it's important to be able to have that understanding, because there's freedom in that will then allow us to look at, oh my gosh, you're telling me there's another way?
Yeah.
I can stop doing this and learn like a different way of doing it. Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah. And especially after you've tried, like whether you've tried one thing or whether you've tried 10 things, and I would say like, I've tried a lot of things. And although I learned some things from each of those experiences I took away from, in the end, it's like there was always something missing because there had to be something missing, because if there wasn't, I've tried all these other things and I know all this logical information, again, why do I keep coming back to this?
And that is the piece that is missing.
Yeah.
We talked about the disconnect last week, very briefly. This psychological piece, if we do not grasp this, if we don't understand this, and we don't look at where psychologically am I trapped? Because look, this is a psychological trap.
Yeah. That
when we are in this behavior pattern, we're trapped somewhere. There is a disconnect here that has not been able to be linked to the person you want to be, the life you desire to be, and who you are today. There's a disconnect there that is not allowing you to be able to break that old self to be able to then tap into this new self with the new behavior pattern that you would like to be doing, right? But it's here. It's neurologically. And that is why it's important to understand and have awareness as to how do I function? How did this come up for me? What are the things that I go to, right? I was looking, as I always research, but I was listening to this doctor talk about how it's important to look at, and he was saying, when you find yourself going to food, right? Let's say you're emotional and then you go to a food, he says it's important to write down not only what foods you went to, which I think that a lot of times we already know that like the back of our hand. Yeah, it's the Oreos, it's the chips, it's the Lay's Ruffles, right? It's this, it's that. Like we know that. But he then went on and he said, but it's important to look at what emotion happened that led us to this particular food. Right. And he said, because that is going to give us awareness as to where it is that you are, quote unquote, trapped.
Yeah.
Or where the connection is, right? Or which is the emotion. But then I like to go deeper and I like to look at not only what emotion, but like what triggered it, what event happened, what situation happened that caused you to feel this way, right? Why are you feeling this way? To then look at, oh, this is the food that I go to. So the reason we go deep with this work is because we're complex human beings. And if we want to get out of this old life and the person that we've been trapped in, we've got to be able to have awareness about ourselves, to be able to get ourselves out of there, to stop doing what we're doing, understand why it is we're doing it, being able to identify it, put an end to it, and then learn the life and the things that you would like to be doing forever.
Right. Yeah.
Which is cool.
Right. Right. It's when you say it, I don't know if some people are going to feel this way, but like sometimes when you hear these things, you're like, oh, you make it sound so easy, and it's like, okay, we're not saying it's easy, but it's very, very possible.
It's doable.
You can unlearn something that you have learned,
That's
whether
right.
that be physically, psychologically, emotionally,
Yes.
ritually, like all of these things. And no,
Yes.
it's not simple, but neither are you. And
That's
neither
right.
is your individual situation as to why this
Yes.
has happened to you. And that's what the problem with all these one size models
Yes.
is, you name it, it's always a one size model. And they
Mhm.
say individual, but yeah, but here's the problem. If you, an individual, comes upon a roadblock, now you're screwed. Like,
That's right.
okay,
Yeah.
wait a minute. How
Good
can
point.
no, sorry. This is just the program,
Mm-hmm.
just the knowledge. This
Yeah.
is just how you do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how can anything that simple work for anybody or anything so complex?
That's right. Which is why we've got to know, we've got to have awareness. We've got to be able to identify all of these things to be able to then know, aha, this is where it's at, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's look at when there's a break-in, right? What do? They come in, they investigate, and they start to look at, well, where did this person come in from?
Mm-hmm.
Because then we can look at if there's another robbery somewhere else, there's certain things, certain patterns that start to repeat. And there are things that happen the same way that we can look at, oh, this is the same person.
Yeah.
This is the same thing happening over and over and over.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Right. And we can look at, oh, this is what's happening. And this is happening over and over and over. Ah, I got it.
Yeah. And when
it's not that I'm defective. It's not that I'm dumb. It's not that I'm an idiot. It's not that like I'm wanting to kill myself in this way.
Right. It's just something that was so subconscious. And as you realize there's a problem, then you spend a lot of time trying to like quick fix it or deny it or push it under the rug. Or you have these moments where you are successful in whatever these other areas are that you're trying, and you may have learned some actual like valuable information and actions from that. But when it's missing this other piece, again, you always come back to the problem. Always come back to the problem. And I just want people to understand that like there's a way to do this. It's a better way, because you're still going to learn the habits, the information, the knowledge, the routines, the strategies, but you have to deal with this other aspect and become aware of this other aspect.
So good. So good.
Right? Awesome.
You're awesome, girl. And that's exactly what you did, right? And that's why you've had such amazing, amazing results. And I'm super happy that each week we're able to share this insight, share this wisdom, and just bring this to everybody who tunes into our episode and now and down the road, right? It's really powerful to see that. And any other questions? Did we have any other ones come in for today? Okay.
No, this was what we were kind of continuing on with.
Very cool. Awesome.
And
well,
people had the same type of question. So this is
that funny
to me. Yeah. Is this a psychological issue?
Right.
And why can't I stop? Why can't I stop? Even though ABC,
That's right. That's right. Good. Well, I hope I answered that question. And if there's still certain things that might be unclear, you want me to explain in a different way, or you just have some questions about what it is I shared, you can drop them in the comments right now. I don't know if there's any comments or anybody else dropped in any other questions as we've been going through today's episode. But if you do, know that I'll get those answered for you. You can also always reach out to both of us. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Allison. I will drop all that information in the description there of today's episode. Feel free to send us questions. Feel free to send us even, I don't know, if you've taken something that we've shared and you've applied it and you've been able to start breaking some things down and you've started to get some awareness or just clarity. I know I've gotten several DMs. Until I don't get their permission to share them, I won't share them, but we've had lovely audience members that have just shared what they're taking from it and how your story, Allison, specifically, like what your whole journey and what you've gone through and how you've overcame and just everything that you've grown and been able to achieve is just impacting their lives, which is fantastic. And they're just sharing a lot of that. Look, send us good news, questions, anything that you're struggling with. Just know that we are here to support you. Did anybody have any comments, by the way?
We had some people checking in from Florida and saying,
Okay.
you know, this is very helpful. This is good stuff. You know,
Awesome.
Yeah, similar comments to that. Definitely.
Very, very cool. Awesome. Well, before we go, Allison, last thoughts for our audience members today. One or two things that you'd like to share, leave them with to ponder for the week.
Yeah, I think, well, kind of twofold. One,
Yeah.
admitting that this is out of control, you know, whatever that may mean for you, whatever that behavior, you know, may mean for you. And honestly, like sometimes I think I shared this with you, like I was like irritable, like angry a lot, you know, and kind of like mad about this with my mom and with my brother and with my kids and you know, and I was like, God, why am I always feeling like this? So it may manifest itself in a different way.
Good point.
Yeah, you know, like, so I guess that's what I want people to understand is like, ultimately, yes, you know, this is kind of what we're talking about is this food relationship, psychology of food, neurological, but this is true for a lot of behaviors and a lot of reasons, you know, why you react the way you do to a certain trigger or why it triggers you and your reaction to it. It's the same type of thing. So, you know, if that helps some people think about it in a different way, you know, maybe you say you don't emotionally eat, but there's probably something else that you do to try to deal with strong emotions, or strong states of feelings, you know, that you're in that may not be what you like. And I just want people to know that like, this is something that you can figure out. And this is something that is not your fault or your, like you were saying. Sorry, could you say that again? My Suri thinks I'm talking to her. Suri.
Siri wants to tune in as well.
God, Siri.
She wants to chime in.
Oh, she likes his info. That was awesome. No, but you're not defective. Like it's not something wrong with you. Like it's something neurological. It's something physiological that is at play here that is so complex, you know, it's really hard to pick it apart on your own. So just, you know, you know, send questions, talk to me, talk to Dave, you know, just, we're here to like, just help spread this word that this is a real thing.
That's right.
And that there's some ways you can deal with it and make it better, more in line with how you want to be living, like how you want to be experiencing these things and handling these things.
I love that. I love that. And I agree. Look, as we close today, I want to just tell you, nobody is going to care more about yourself than you. Nobody is going to care more about your health than you can. And nobody is going to want the best for you than ultimately what we want for ourselves. These moments when you might feel hopeless, you might feel stranded, you might feel defeated, you might feel weak, you might feel not enough, are the moments that you can break out of what can seem to be your worst state, your worst condition, your worst moment, and let it become your greatest victory, your greatest accomplishment. Because look, there's nothing greater than having health and life and being able to be around those that you love and being able to impact them with that, being able to radiate that. And you can do it because you have everything inside of you to be able to do it. There's nothing special about me. There's nothing special about Allison. There's nothing special about anyone. We're all humans. The difference is having the understanding, knowing exactly what we need to do to be able to change the situation that we're in based on where we're at and taking action. And we're here to support that. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. Feel free to DM us. You can also look there in the description down in the show notes. You'll be able to reach out and have more ways to connect with us. And like I said at the beginning of today's episode, in 2 days, what is it? Yeah, in 3 days or Friday. No, or Tuesday. Yeah, in 3 days, First Sleep to Better Health is happening live in Florida. And we're also going to be virtually online. So if you haven't got your tickets, what are you waiting for? Go jump on my website, www.firstsleeptobetterhealth.com. Register. All the information is there. Tune in. It's going to be a 2-day event. We're going to be breaking down the 4-step process I use with my students to help them put an end to unhealthy eating habits, to stress eating, emotional eating, teaching you how to master your eating habits, teaching you how to identify the root causes of why you're doing certain things like we talked about today, how to identify them and put an end to them for good, just like Allison is doing and many of my students are doing today. You've got the opportunity to do that and be the one that dictates what your life is going to be, not what a label is trying to say who you are. So again, go register if you haven't registered. First Sleep to Better Health happening June 10th and 11th. We do have still seating available. Go to the website, register, and get your ticket. All right, my friend, have a fantastic night, Allison. Always a pleasure.
Well. Yes.
Take care of yourself. And we'll see you next week.
Okay, sounds good. See you then.
All right. Take care, y'all. Invite
right,
this
bye,
and
everybody.
share this with somebody that you know could benefit from it. I'll talk to you later. Have a good day. Peace.
Bye.
And that's the end of our episode. What did you think? Let me know your thoughts of today's episode. Drop them in the comments. Look, when I first decided to create this podcast about 2 years ago, I really wanted to create a platform that I could communicate with you, but more importantly, that I could share content that could impact your life. Look, I love to give value, and I want to make sure that I'm bringing topics that are impacting your life, that you find valuable, and that you can actually apply them to start living the best life possible. Look, it's my desire to provide information that is going to impact your life. Look, there's a lot of information out there, but it's really not good information if it doesn't impact you. If it's not the information that you need specifically to help you get to the life that you desire, help you crush your health and fitness goals, and just ultimately live at your best. So let me know in the comments, let me know your thoughts. And if you have any questions, also drop them in the comment section or shoot me an email. I love connecting with you. I want to know more about you. And if you have ideas about things that you would like me to break down, other thoughts of topics that you would like me to maybe deep dive into more, send me an email. listennotdefeated@gmail.com. You'll find it there at the bottom. listennotdefeated@gmail.com so that we can connect. And if you want to have a conversation with me, maybe you're struggling to some certain things and you want to have a more intimate conversation where I could just shine some light, support, encourage, and maybe give you some insight that can help you streamline your process, I'd love to connect with you and have a conversation. Visit my website, www.davidhernandez.co. That's davidhernandez.co. You'll find it there at the bottom. And I look forward to connecting with you. And also, let's connect on social media. Look, it's an amazing platform. We all use it. It's available there for us. Access it 24/7. And it allows us to just get to know each other better. Follow me, connect with me on all social media platforms. There's my handle, @Dave K. Hernandez. And I look forward to reaching out to you. Look, we are excited because if you're watching this on Thursday, tomorrow, June 10th, and Saturday, June 11th, we have my first Leap to Better Health conference. It's a 2-day conference happening in Winter Haven, Florida, but you can also connect online. So if you haven't already registered, visit my website, www.firstleaptobetterhealth.com, connect, register, and I hope to see you there. Look, my goal is to support you, to encourage you, and to streamline your process. So hope you can make it, and I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Listen, You're Not Defeated, and I'm your host, David Hernandez. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, click the subscribe button, click the little bell for all the notifications of our up and coming episodes. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast station, click the follow button so you don't miss an episode. Remember, we are now having 2 podcast episodes each and every week on Tuesday and Thursday, so make sure you tune in and don't miss an episode. Thank you again for tuning in. You are incredible. Remember, go out, crush it, live your best life, and you are not defeated. I love you. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.